Good evening. Good evening. Um, who is Asher Gray? 09. And Gigi. Good evening. Okay, so before we get started, any questions? Q&A questions? Um, we can go over. Let me do a quick roll call here. Attendees. See who the attendees are. Miss Ruth, Mike, Gigi, and Asher Gray. I'll mute everybody, make sure they can hear. Okay. And Gigi, hello, how are you? How you guys
I'm
doing?
fine. How are you?
I'm okay. What's going on? What's any questions? Any issues? Any pain points that need to be further delved into from a dispatcher's perspective?
I do have I might be answering my question as I'm asking it. Um, we have to have it's good to have the LLC and our flyers all set up before we even try to reach out to anybody.
It's good to have it prior to, but it's not a necessity. If you don't have it, you still can dispatch. As long as you have that dispatcher agreement and the profile signed by your carrier with the other documents and stuff, then you can start finding loads and getting invoices,
Okay.
getting paid and stuff like that for them. As long as you have your dispatch agreement with that. As long as your carrier that you spoke to and convinced them of wanting to have your service, then yeah, you can do that. But then
Okay.
you
Because I was
would
waiting to
against
do the LLC so I can have a certain date on it.
right,
But I already
So
got the
why
name
not?
and everything.
Okay.
Right, and then why not do it at the same time to kind of phase it in? So while you're waiting on your LLC, you could be dispatching and getting that experience anyway. So
Okay.
See the mute thing up there?
Oh.
okay.
But I don't see my name though.
Yeah, I see some. Who's that in the background? I hear some. That's Mike.
I can hear you on the screen, so you gotta mute your mic, son.
All right.
Okay, so I was talking to who was I talking to? Gigi, right?
Yeah, he was talking to me about the LLC.
Yeah. So as you work loads, find loads for your carrier, while you apply for your LLC and your business license, you at the same time you can be finding loads, talking to broker, getting that experience. So by the time you do get your LLC and your business license in order and get that set up, your business, you can just phase right. The transition will be a little bit smoother for you.
Okay.
Now, I mean, if you totally have the option to wait until you get that and just learn what you can, and then when you do get it, to go from there and start working on getting the carrier acquisition and doing cold calls and finding loads on load board or getting the training on load boards and stuff like that. So now, where are you in your process?
Well, I already got the name. I already got an email address. I did the paperwork for the LLC, but I noticed that here in Florida, I don't know if that's generally everywhere with LLCs or just in Florida, that you can't do it more than 5 days before the date that you want it to start, and no more than 90 days after you start. So it says you can do business, but I didn't know basically for me to put like the logo I'm having created on paperwork until I get that, or is like if I send paperwork that doesn't necessarily have a logo on it yet, is that bad? Or should I? That's why I was wondering, should I wait until I have all that set up so that my paperwork all has the name and the logo and the LLC after the name?
Right, yeah. I mean, if you want to be uniform, all uniform, to have your logos and your paperwork and everything. But I just Googled like what are the requirements for LLC in Florida, and I come up with this. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Sunbiz, I think, is what you have to do it on.
Sunbiz. Well, I'm looking at, there's different places: Zenbiz, Florida Registered Agent, LegalZoom, Inc.
Yeah, I think all of those are stuff that you're paying for them to do the work for you. If you go straight to Sunbiz, you just doing the paperwork because that's how you register your business name. You're doing business as and to do your LLC, all on that.
Right. So you're just trying to understand what the requirements are for the LLC in Florida so you can follow that process, or?
No, not necessarily. I want to know, did it look bad if I didn't have that? Because I don't really want to put the name and LLC on paperwork until I get the approval for the LLC. Not that I'm
right.
I don't think that
till it's official. That's what you're saying.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And that's fine. Now granted, I didn't start that way, but I was like looking lows before I got my business license and LLC. But this was like 2-3 years ago, and it just I just rolled those few drivers that I was booking for when I finally got the business license and the LLC. I just rolled them into the business, which is not a complicated thing to do.
Right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying though. From a marketing perspective, you want to see your logos and all in one. Yeah. So
especially when I go to the truck stops, I don't want not to have anything. Just going and talking to people. I was trying to do up a flyer to hand out.
Now, prior to getting your business license and LLC, you can still have your whatever official logo that you're going to decide that's going to be incorporated in your business once you finally get that business up running. If you had that idea already in place, I'm assuming you still can put it on business cards and flyers when you go out to the different truck stops and stuff.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't jumping the gun or waiting, and I didn't necessarily have to wait.
Right. Did you, like Robert just made a good point, did you do a name search, like whatever business name you come up with, name search to
it's
see
not
that
on Google, and they give you're able to search it, because that's what I do at my regular job is open up accounts for people to use the landfill, and we have to look them up to see if it's active or not active. So there's nobody with that name, and I Googled it, and it doesn't come up on Google at all.
There you go. So now
I did that.
Okay, so that homework piece is done. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anything else on that lines? But as far as the doing, like getting a carrier under an agreement, and if you get a carrier under agreement, let's say you get a carrier under agreement without having to use your logo and paperwork, you just did a cold call and you convinced that person to say, yeah, I want to do a dispatch agreement with you. Let's find some loads. Now, is the fact that you don't have your business license and LLC is going to stop you from helping that carrier, or no?
No, it won't stop me. But I have a potential carrier, and I have a contact for a direct shipper.
Okay. So the carrier you have is what equipment type is that carrier?
A dry van. Okay,
53-foot dry van. Mm-hmm. And then you have a contact for a direct shipper. You've spoken with a direct shipper. Are they like
I didn't
present
speak
loads?
to them yet. I was given that information and the contact person to speak to. They were already spoken to and given a heads up about me, but I didn't have the
Okay.
chance. I didn't call them yet because I wanted to make sure if they say, well, send this over, and they Google my name and it's not registered as a business or anything like that. I didn't want to deter them for me not having all my stuff together in the beginning.
Understood.
Be more professional, I guess.
Understood. I understood. Now, what commodity or what type of freight does that shipper have? Do you know that part?
No, I don't. Let me look at the information I got to see if that might tell me.
Now, and I'm leading up to something as I ask you questions about this too. So, because this can be an advantage for you in the fact that you can roll over your source into the network and provide the shipper loads to the network for other dispatchers, and you can get residual income from that.
Say that again?
You can, if you were to successfully get a direct shipper, right? And that let's say I'm a shipper you spoke to, and you convinced me, whatever you said that convinced me, maybe you said I have access to X amount of carriers through you may not even say through my dispatching network. I don't know what verbiage you're going to use, but whatever the verbiage is, and you convince them to say, okay, yeah, I got access to X amount of carriers. You don't say how you have access to the carriers. The fact that you're dispatching for some of the carriers, and then you have access to a network of other dispatchers with carriers. You don't have to say it like that, but you can just say I have access to X amount of carriers. Let's say 100 carriers, and then the shipper says, okay, how do we work together? You say, well, what are your lanes, or what are your pain points, or where do you need the most help in moving your freight? And what lane is that in? And then they'll tell you that because they want that problem solved. So then they'll give you an email form, or they'll tell you verbally, and they'll give you what's called a load tender of the amount of that to move that freight. Now, you may sound like you're a broker, but shippers deal with brokers as well as direct carriers. Now, you're going to put on your direct carrier hat, but you're a dispatcher, but you're representing carriers. So, but you don't tell the shipper that you're like a dispatcher. You just say, I have access to X amount of carriers. Now, the way the shipper may shoot this down a little bit is they're going to ask for verification. They're going to ask for either an MC, or they're going to say, well, are you a broker? You're going to say, no, I have trucking companies that I have access, that I deal with, several trucking companies. So those are carriers. So
did you say that you're a logistics management company?
You can say you're a logistics management company and you manage several trucking companies. So now that puts you in the ball game of like, okay, I deal with several MCs because different trucking companies have different MC authorities for those trucking companies. And let's say each of those trucking companies have 10 to 20 assets or 10 to 20 trucks. So now that number's looking impressive in front of the shipper, right? So, because they'll say, well, are you a trucking company? So you just say, I'm a management company that manages X amount of trucks, trucking companies, things like that. So there's ways around it. So I'm trying to give you kind of a heads up of how I'm going to approach it. I'm sure you have an idea of what you would want to do. But, if you welcome the feedback, I'll be willing to give it. So
yeah, of course.
So let's say you convince me, I'm the shipper, and you convince me, I'll start sending you my tenders, my load tenders. Now I can offer to do that electronically or in paper form. Electronically, it's going to come through what's called a TMS system, a transportation management system, through what's called an EDI, electronic data interchange. Or if you don't have a TMS system set up for your quote-unquote logistics or your management company, just have them attach it to an email and send it to your email in a PDF. At any rate, you're going to get you're going to get a list of their loads for the lanes that they're trying to solve the hardest problem for in. Because now you're taking on that as a challenge. You take that as a personal challenge. You say, okay, well, I want to win your service. I want to win your business. Give me your lanes you're having the most difficulty in moving loads in. And they'll say, okay, sure. Okay, I'll give you a shot. They'll give you that. Let's say it's 5 lanes going different directions of the country, and it's paying X amount of dollars per those lanes. So now you got that. You put it into the network and present it to the other dispatchers in this network, and any of the dispatchers who have carriers who book loads with you or through you in those lanes can give you a certain percentage of what they were going to make from their dispatcher anyway. So say I'm one of the dispatchers that books one of your loads from your direct shippers. I get 10% from my carrier for moving that load, but of that 10%, I may give you like 2.5% of that because you simply provided me that resource. So as a gesture of good faith, I want to compensate you for that. So now the residual part comes in that if there's going to be more than one dispatcher that does that. I'm sure there's like, let's say 10, 20 dispatchers come across all your lanes and they have carriers that they charge 10% to fill those lanes. So you see where I'm going with this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it can grow over time, but the first step, I guess, is to tackle the goal or the hurdle or obstacle of getting that shipper to say yes. You know, now most shippers, well, I can't, but because now in some instances, some brokers are having a hard time, especially the newer ones, getting shippers, but convincing a shipper to say, yeah, I can take on your pain points and your load troubles. That's going to be your number one challenge. So I don't know what marketing or what how you're going to go about doing that with them, and what angle you're going to go. Now, the person that gave you that resource to that shipper, do they have a personal relationship with that shipper, or is this something that they came across when they were, maybe there was a truck driver who was doing delivery to a shipper or picking up, and they just got their information? I don't know how, you came across the information, whether that person personally knows that shipper or it was just another resource given to them to then pass to you. You still there? I lost her for a minute. All right, well, while she comes back, and that was Gigi. While Gigi comes back, let me see if anyone else has any questions. Mike, you were the next person I was going to. Hey, Mike, can you unmute yourself? I had a question about you as far as the.
What's good, Charles?
What's good? Good. Oh, she just said don't know what happened. My sound gave me a second to reconnect. Okay. Were you able to contact the guy, the carrier?
Yo, Charles.
Can you hear me?
That's a funny story there, Charles.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Gigi.
Okay. To answer your question, I have a truck driver who, when he goes to certain stops, he asks those questions for me to see if I can get some information or contact and get a direct shipment contract or something like that. I don't know how you refer to it.
Yep. And that's actually a smart move because I had a carrier friend who actually became a broker, and that was one of the strategies he used because he was driving for a number of years. And I told him, I said, well, since you're driving, every shipper and receiver you pick up from, those are potential customers for your brokerage because now, especially if you pick up and deliver to them on a normal basis on a steady route, then you can start a conversation. You're talking to the same person every time you're there, either a logistics manager, someone in the office, and you guys are building a rapport because you're coming in there every week or every so many weeks or whatever, and you might happen to say to them one day, hey man, I'm getting ready to form a brokerage, man. Are you guys gonna be looking for new brokers or taking on any new brokers? I'm getting ready to start a new brokerage. And they knew you from being a carrier, and they knew the type of person you were, so they figured they might give you a shot just based off of that. You know?
Right.
So now I don't know. When are you planning on talking to the person directly, or it's calling them whatnot?
Well, I wanted to, the reason why I asked about the LLC is that was the main reason, is I wanted all that straight so that when I talk to the direct shipper, I have all that stuff in place. I knew it would be not as important, but not that stressful if I was doing it with the carrier, because I can explain to them a little bit more. I didn't want a direct shipper to tell me, well, when you get everything together, then give me a call back and not deal with me anymore, because I wasn't ready in the beginning. So I'm trying to have everything within the next 2 weeks, everything straight and set up and everything.
So you're probably going to have a name that's going to be such that will attract the shipper to you, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, I'm using a name that when I Googled didn't come up, and logistics management at the end. I didn't want to put dispatcher in there just in case later on I transfer over and start doing the broker part.
Okay. Yeah, something that when they hear it, it'll attract attention, and it'll have value to it for them to at least be curious to inquire about, what do you further inquiries, what do you do? And then that could be icebreaker where it opens up the floodgates. So
right.
Okay. So I'll be praying for you. Not to say that in a bad way.
I need it.
Yeah,
I need all the prayers I can get.
Because the getting a direct shipper to sign on with a logistics management company is huge. It'll be huge because it'll make brokers upset, of course, because they say, well, how can you do that? Because you're using your trucking company angle, because brokers seem to think that shippers just deal with them. No, shippers deal directly with carriers as well as brokers. So so you can use your relationship with carriers massively to get direct shippers. So,
well, that's the feeling that the woman that I took that broker class with, basically, when you walked away from the little bit that she did give the class, it was, the only way to be able to deal with shippers and is to be a broker. And then, as I researched, I found out, that's not technically true. So I can cut you out of the middle, period.
No, because when I was involved in brokering as a broker agent as well, there were some shippers. Actually, there were plenty of shippers that I called and said, no, we don't deal with brokers. We deal directly with carriers. So right then and there, I wish I had that list, because I had a huge list of shippers that deal directly. Matter of fact, let's use our friend Google. I mean, shippers that deal directly with carriers. I don't know if it'll have it in here, but shippers that deal directly with carriers. I mean, I guess it does have it in here. So Ryan Transportation, kind of shipper, carrier, domestic. I mean, so you can look up. The internet has a plethora of information now. So yeah, Mike says I reached out to a few shippers and they said I need EDI set up. So that's what I said earlier. The EDI setup is, now I don't know if a trucking company has the ability to set up an EDI. Well, yes, they do, because the one I'm working with, we do EDI alerts every morning. So an EDI is that's an electronic connection, data transfer from the shipper to either the broker or to the trucking company. because again, remember, shippers deal directly with, they deal with brokers as well as direct carriers or direct trucking companies. So you have to have the EDI connection is through what's called a TMS system, a transport management software, right? Like again, the eFreight Solutions, there's plenty of them out there. And what that does is when the ship puts their load tenders into the TMS system, whatever company they have a connection, an EDI connection with, that data is going to transfer to the trucking company or to the broker, right? So it saves time of manually entering the data into the TMS system. So as a broker,
so basically they export and importing the information from one system to another, transferring.
Correct. But with the shipper, the shipper is exporting all the load tender information from them to either the broker or to the trucking company. So if it's a broker, the broker usually builds their loads inside of the TMS system, but it makes it easier because all the data has already been pre-filled in for them by the shipper when they transfer the data over. And that load tender data contains like where's the load picking up, where's it going, what's the weight, how much is the rate, the main stuff that's needed for a load to be built, right? So now when the broker gets that load tender, right, from the shipper, they build a load and create what's called a rate confirmation. Now, what they do is they change the name of they change the information. They change it to their broker company's name, and they change the load tender amount to the rate confirmation amount. This is where the broker takes.
So what you see on a load board, they changed by taking their money off the top already, and that's what they put.
Ding, 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 ding. There you go. So when you see those numbers on the load board, you can best believe that their money has already been taken out. You can best believe that prior to that, there was a higher number. So let's say there was a $3,000 load rate confirmation on the load boards, or a price for a load to be booked. But the load tender may have came across as maybe $5,000, $6,000. I mean, there's been cases where brokers have taken so much money off the load and then resold that load to the carrier for a substantial less amount. Even though it still may look good from a cents per mile perspective for some carriers for certain equipment types, it still was a larger amount when it first came across as a load tender through the EDI alert into the TMS system of the brokerage. Now, let's flip that. When shipper sends a load tender through an EDI setup to the trucking company's TMS, that amount is the same. There's no point in changing it because they keep all the money. The trucking company keeps all the money because there is no middleman. There is no broker to take any off the top. So that's a good thing about dealing with direct shippers from a carrier's perspective. They keep all of their money, not more, but all, because no one's in the middle cutting out the money.
Right.
So you see how that works?
Yes, I do, and now I understand why she didn't want to give you the second steps of what you need to do once you got that go ahead. She just wanted you to give her the email address so she could send all the information to them.
Right. Well, now you see, because she didn't want to homegrown her own competitor.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, but I've got enough experience to know the whole process and how it works. I know the whole process because I've done it. I've gotten loads of tendencies. Now the EDI setup, it costs in some cases. It costs. So
okay.
It's like upwards of like maybe $10,000, maybe $5,000 to $10,000, because you have to sync the two systems. They have to talk to each other electronically to transfer that data from source to location to destination. So to set that up, you need software developers to get everything integrated. You have to match the fields that the data is going into so it can match up correctly. Otherwise, you'll get a bunch of bugs and error messages. But once that happens, you pretty much set. All the shipper has to do is just push a few buttons, enter their load tender, even sometimes scan the load tender into their system, and then just hit a button to transfer the EDI across to either their broker or to their trucking company direct carriers. So,
Okay.
but learning something new, huh?
Right, and then the fact that who was this? Is this Mike that said that? Who said when Mike said that they said they need an EDI setup, that might also be a way for them just to cancel you out because it costs so much to get an EDI setup.
Correct.
But can't you just ask? So that's when you would just say, "Can you send?" See, they're requiring an EDI setup, so they're not even in going to accept sending it to you in the PDF paper form.
Correct. Because, well, yeah, but the EDI setup is kind of expensive, between $5 and $10 grand, but most brokers are large enough to cover that cost. Most trucking companies are large enough to cover that cost, and they write it off as a tax expense. Now, if you're a small trucking company trying to get started, now $5 to 10 grand is going to seem a little bit big to you now. Right. And you make a good point. That's a way to kind of vet out those who are serious and those who are not from a financial standpoint. So. That's how that works.
Has Robert tried that email, that website that he put up there to find direct shippers, and contacted any?
Let me see. Okay, AMS. Let's click that. I'll copy that. No, they deal with carriers, but pay through EDI system. Okay. So let me minimize this screen and see. He said, copy that, and open up this tab and see if I can put it in here, because I haven't even looked at that one. But it's a government site, USDA, AMS. Oh, I got these in my my broker 101 direct shipper list. Hey James, thanks for joining. Yeah, these are direct shippers. Now, this is more of the agricultural, like farm, different food. So this is, I don't want to say it's seasonal, but in some cases it is. The produce agriculture is kind of a seasonal shipper database here. But there are other shipper sources. ThomasNet, McRae's Blue Book. Let's go to the website here. I got a website on the freight broker side for the shipper. And I haven't done freight broker 101 training in such a long time that I haven't had enough build up of it. It'll come. Commercial shippers. Let's go here. And okay. So no thanks. Almost forgot my own passwords. Okay, yeah. So this may be able to help you from, and this kind of affects dispatching a little bit, especially if you are a dispatching company and you happen to hook a large trucking company to dispatch for, then it may be a good idea to target direct shippers with the assets in your large trucking company that you got under a dispatch agreement as a dispatching company. So this is kind of the angle that I think Gigi is heading towards. So if anyone else is having those things too, then this broker side, this is the broker side, but it's talking about the shipper portion of the broker side. But it can be applied to dispatching companies who have a large trucking company under their belt as far as dispatching for. You guys follow?
Yes.
Okay. So under module 1 for this side, the broker 101, customer shippers. Now, in this is a different beast. So we're looking at it from broking, but you look at it from dispatching as if you had a large trucking company, like 10 or more trucks. So when you go to shippers, you have to consider like a niche. You got to have a niche, right? So what that means is a certain specialty that you're going to target when you're going after the shippers, like shippers who deal with certain equipment types, shippers who deal with commodities that only gets hauled on flatbeds, or only gets hauled in dry vans, or only gets hauled in reefers. So like lumber loads, steel loads, those are flatbeds. Produce, cold things, cold items, beverages, so like that's reefers. And in general freight, that's dry vans. So if you got a certain niche that you want to target a certain niche of shippers you want to target, you think of that. And then, of course, you want to follow the 4 R's in brokering, but you can say the 4 R's in dispatching large trucking companies. We'll put it in that perspective, since we are dispatching companies who have to, let's say, we want to get a large trucking company. So if you just remove the word brokering, just say dispatching large trucking companies. Okay. Of course, the 4 R's is you got to research, reach out, and build a relationship, and then you get a return on your investment. What that means is you research, you get your niche, you research those companies, learn as much as you can, because once you reach out to them, you want to make yourself look good, and you want to say, hey, man, I've been following your company, and I did some research on the company. I know you guys do this. Your market cap is this amount. This is what you do. This is the areas you service. So when you're talking to a shipper and you're telling them about their own company, that's impressive to them, because they're saying, most people, when they call shippers, they're only asking, well, can I help you move loads? They hear that all day. They either get emails or they get phone calls all the time asking about that. But if you start a conversation with a shipper, not only are you looking to move loads, but you're telling them how you can service them in their pain points, because you already know about their company, what areas they service, because you did your research. So cold calls, local visits, emails, right? Relationships. Now this one didn't have the load list. I thought I had a. Okay, here we go. Tools and resources. I got so much content. I don't forget I had this stuff. It's actually a good thing, but okay. So I got a whole. Now this says broker tidbits, but I got compliance stuff, top 12 load board. Let's see, freight broker insurance, broker software, how to find freight like pros, top manufacturing company, how do I get shippers, 10 cold call emails. So I got different. So let's see, we may be able to see some. Okay, so this is a PDF I put in the back office. It was a free download that I had, how to get shippers. So, and this is a common thing. You like go to any store, you look on any, you can go in your kitchen and just look at any of your products that you purchased, right? Like I got a bag of chips right here. You look on, well, who made the chips? Where did it come from? Where was it distributed from? That's the shipper. You look on any product, any good in your house, anything that was imported that you purchased or whatever, you get shippers off there if you want to start cold calling shippers. And then you have directories. So now here's some resources here. Produce market guide, of course, those are produce shippers, right? Careers in food, that's a resource for shippers. Anta. So here's some good information. Blue Book or Blue Book services. I knew this stuff. TimesNet. So these are sources for shippers. Okay, Gigi?
I know about the Blue Book services, because that's one of the ones we looked up during the freight broker class.
Now, what about McRae's Blue Book?
Yeah, we did McRae's Blue Book. That's the one I'm talking about. That and TimesNet.
TimesNet. Now, there's also there's TimesNet, and then there's one that's an email-based one. What is that one called? I forget the name of it. Man. Sometimes you forget.
TimesNet and McRae's Blue Book is where I was getting the emails from, because it was easier for me to email so I can keep track of it. And then a few of them, if I didn't get a response back from the email, then I would look on their website and find who the president was, if they had a logistics manager listed, and get their phone numbers and their direct emails from there.
Right. So you can do what's called, I don't know if you heard of this term before, it's called skip tracing, right? You can skip trace someone based off of either their email or their phone number to get either their email or their phone number. So you can get a name of a business and skip that business name or that address or that email to get a phone number. It's called skip tracing. It's the same thing we do in real estate. I do it in real estate when we do wholesaling. You can skip trace. You can go to an address of a house skip trace the address and find out who owns the house, because it may be what's called an absentee owner, someone who does not live there, but they may be renting it out. But if you want to wholesale the house or buy it and do a flip, so it's the same concept, skip tracing in the transportation industry, where you're looking at data to get other types of data. That's all skip tracing is. So the data that we're trying to get is a telephone number, so we can actually cold call someone to start a conversation about how to get their business. But McGrady's book, of course, is a good resource. And then the other ones, too, the one that Robert just put up, this one here, the agricultural one, this is a good one. It's particularly good right now because the produce season is coming around the corner right now. I mean, it's almost here in some states, especially in Florida, Arizona, California even, the Pacific Northwest with the apples, potatoes, and Idaho. So a lot of shippers are, since their season is beginning to start, they are probably, I don't want to say they're looking for either brokers or direct trucking companies to move their freight, but they're more willing to listen to people at this point, because they're getting to the point where their season is actually starting. So they got to get their commodity or their goods to their customers, right? So these are like manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, or however. Remember, now keep in mind, when you're dealing with shippers, you're dealing with that whole concept of the supply chain logistics. Are you familiar with supply chain logistics?
No.
Okay, so supply chain logistics, there is a hierarchy that's in supply chain logistics. You have the raw materials people, the raw materials.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Before you start,
Right.
let me see if I'm following. You got the people that have the raw materials, and that needs to be shipped to the people that assemble it or make the product. And then from there, it goes to either distribution center or the actual place where they're going to be selling it.
Right, so there are names for that. So you got raw materials, that goes to what's called the manufacturers, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So then the manufacturers go to the distributors, right? Mm-hmm. And the distributors go to the wholesalers, and then the wholesalers go to the retail stores, and then, of course, the last person is the end user or the customer. So in each of that supply chain hierarchy, there are shipping companies. So you have raw material companies that ship out their raw materials, whatever that raw material is, to be used by the manufacturers to make their products. So you got raw material shippers. There are several of them, right? So now your question is, well, which type of shipper do I need to target? Do I need to go after the raw material shippers? Do I need to go after the manufacturing shippers? Do I need to go after the distributing shippers? Do I need to go after the wholesale shippers or the retails? And then in each one, what is an example of what companies qualify in that supply chain? In other words, what's a raw material company? What's a manufacturing company? What's a good manufacturing company? What's a good distributing company? What's a good wholesale company? Like Costco, Sam's Club, those are, what are those? Retailers or wholesalers, right? What?
I think wholesalers.
There you go. So you could think of popular companies out here and put them in that supply chain hierarchy and determine, okay, which one in that hierarchy has the greater number and the greater chance of me landing that particular shipper, and which one in that supply chain gives me a better chance to find my niche. Where am I going to choose my niche at in this supply chain? Am I going to go after the raw materials, those who have the raw materials that's needed to be made? Or am I going to go after the makers of the products? Or am I going to go after the distributors of the products that just got made, which is the distributing companies? Or am I going to go after the wholesalers who get that stuff made and then sell it at a wholesale price to the retailers? You see, so you have to make a decision. So on the broker side, there's a lot more consideration. A lot of brokers don't take the supply chain logistics into consideration. They just get the broker's authority, try to build their credit up, and go after any type of shipper without doing research, without finding a niche. They don't care what equipment type. As long if I can get a good shipper that's paying a good cents per mile, which is cool, that's fine. But if you find a niche, then you become an expert in that niche. You build your brokerage a little better, as opposed to spreading yourself all over the place. And you know a whole lot about very little, if you understand what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? So, but if you target a certain area based off of your research, you may make yourself a little bit more successful. So,
Okay.
I hope I'm not confusing you too much.
No, I'm jotting down stuff and then I'll put it together later. I just don't want to be the one overtaking the whole conversation.
No. You got people who are good listeners and good questions. I'm going back to the thing. Okay, Robert said, and from a broker's let's see, he said, oh yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn has good shippers, and oh yeah, I'm gonna give you a way to look for shippers on LinkedIn. Need to update my LinkedIn. GG. What's the distributor company name on the back of your ship? On your ship. Oh yeah. What is that? Yeah. Okay, so they're distributed 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven. So that's a distributor. And it says made in the U.S. with domestic and imported ingredients. So that means that the raw materials were imported into the country, and then they were made at some kind of manufacturer, and then 7-Eleven distributed the finished product to the wholesalers and the retailers. Now, they probably did everything in-house because 7-Eleven is, of course, a retail store, right? So, and I got a bottle of water from Kroger's. It's just Kroger. It's distributed by the Kroger company in Cincinnati, Ohio. So there you go. So there's a hunch. You can go into your pantry. If you got a Lazy Susan in your kitchen, the little spindle thing, or you go into your kitchen cabinet, you can see different products. I got a book in here, a book on real estate investing. Products are made. It was the company that made this is Wiley Brand, so they produced books. So there's just a whole plethora of information on how to find shippers. Now with the LinkedIn thing, because we're looking at it from a dispatcher's company, trucking company's perspective, right? So let's do LinkedIn. And so if you're a dispatcher and let's review a little bit for those who come in a little bit later. If you are a dispatcher or a dispatching company and you land a trucking company to dispatch for, and that trucking company has, let's say, 20 trucks. So now you can leverage those assets in that trucking company to go after direct shippers. That's the theme tonight that we're talking about, okay? And if anyone has any questions on the basic dispatching port, you can still ask your questions there too. That's fine. But we were looking at a dispatching perspective from a large trucking company. I got a lot of people. So in your search thing here, if you type in, let's say, shippers or logistics, let's say logistics, I can spell it correctly. I'm going to go with shippers. Shippers or shipping. Okay, so shipping. And it says in jobs, in people, and in groups. I usually do it in people. And you get a whole list of people that you can connect with that are like procurement. Now let's change a little bit. Let's say I might say freight shipping, something like that, something to that effect. Kind of, and then there's groups you can join too. but you always want to look for it in people, not in job. You're not looking for a shipping job. You're looking for people in the shipping industry, particularly logistics. So you got some people who are, like right here, integrated services, and you can click on their name, marketing director, now this is my area because I'm in the Norfolk, Virginia area, so it's gonna find the shippers based off of the location of your where you live and your computer, your IP address and stuff like that. Shipping manager at Nucor Yamato Steel. So that's a steel. Nucor is a large steel company. They have satellite offices all over the country. Some people on this tonight are familiar with Nucor. They're a large steel company. Okay. So this person could be a good candidate for talking to. And then you got logistics. Here we go. Here is helping busy logistics, transportation, and supply chain management managers, shipping clerk, shipping manager at Lynn Home Decor Products. So he's a shipping manager for this company. So he'll be a good person to contact. So on LinkedIn, you can utilize that resource. You see? So there's several ways to, if you want to go at it from this angle, if you feel that you're ready like Gigi does, where you have access to, let's say, a trucking company that has a large number of assets or trucks, drive-ins, flatbeds, or reefers, 20 or more that you're dispatching for, you can bypass the broker and go directly to the shipper by leveraging your trucking company that you're dispatching for. Talk to the shipper, say, hey, I got, I'm a logistics manager for a large trucking company. We have 20 assets. We should be able to satisfy your pain points in your lanes that you're having trouble with. How do we get set up? So this is how the conversation goes, and then they're going to ask for like a packet, a shipper packet. It's usually on the broker side, it's a shipper broker packet, but on the shipper side, they're going to usually ask for all the trucking companies' credentials, like their MC authority, the insurance, things of that nature. Maybe even proof of some loads that were ran successfully. So if Gigi is still listening to this part, that'll be something to consider. So
I should wait until before I contact them to see if I can get that information, or at least get a couple of carriers to work with me first.
Right. Now, you would be better served too if you were able to. I mean, at some point, I'm assuming you're working toward this goal, landing a trucking company with a large number of trucks to dispatch for. If they don't have, even if they do have internal dispatchers, you can let them know, like, well, I know you guys have internal dispatchers, but I can be an asset to you, or I can add value to your company because I have the ability to go directly to the shippers and get loads, as opposed to what you guys are doing. Let's assume that they're dealing just with brokers. So as opposed to you guys dealing with brokers, I could bypass that and leverage your company to get you loads directly from the shipper. So.
Okay. I have another question that's not on the same topic as the direct shippers.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I watched the video and you mentioned the CARB card, which is, I guess, the carbon card for California. When we're getting carriers or contacting carriers that are over on that side, should that be one of the requirements that we ask for when we ask for their W-9MC and their COI?
The cab cards are, when you're going in and out of the state of California, there's like an emissions regulation that's over there, and that deals with the cab card. So if you got carriers that are going in and out of California on a steady basis, that's what that's about. So yes, but if you get them and they've been going in and out of California prior to you contacting them for a dispatch agreement, then they should already, well, they better already have a cab car, or if they get pulled over, it's over for them. So So yeah, so if they're going in and out of California, then yeah. So here it is, cab cards. You can look that up. Definition of a cab card.
Okay.
See, so it means registration receipt that describes the vehicle and reflects the weight in each jurisdiction and is registered of operation. So and what I can do is let me see. I was going to click and put this link in here. Let's do this one here. Okay, now that's more of a they're just talking about it, like having a blog about it. I don't really want to do the blog. I want to give something more, a little bit more concrete. I'll find something that's more concrete and put it in there. But yeah, if you're dealing with carriers in states that regulate that cab card requirement, then yes. So now the next question becomes, well, how do I know what states do that, right? Well, I know California is one. Some of the larger states like Texas, maybe Florida, I believe, those states like that. And then we can just Google that, which states require. We might as well use our resources while we're here. Because I don't know it by heart, but nothing Google can solve, right? So it's dealing with IRP. So trip permits, which states accept in-cab electronics, cab cards. Okay, so OIDA, this is a international registration plan, IRPs. So what I'll do, I'll send this. This should be a good starting point for you here. So
okay,
I copied the link and I'll paste it into the chat here once I get back the everyone thing here. And OIDA is like an owner-operator, it's almost like a union for owner-operators, OIDA.
Okay.
So, but I put it there. So, good questions, and good. You're thinking big too, Gigi. By the way, you're trying to do it big.
I'm one of those people that try to know as much as possible about something before I go forward, because I hate for somebody to come back and tell me I'm wrong or tell me something that ain't true. I like to have at least a basis to be like, yeah, that doesn't sound right, or no, I need to do it this way.
Right, and doing your own research do your own research. And again, Google is like the best. And then people that know other people who do it. Like I know a lot of people who do it, and some of them are just a phone call away. So yeah.
I'm interested to see if anybody else has any questions that maybe I can learn something besides me just asking questions.
Well, this is more of an intermediate advanced kind of question, but
okay.
No, I'm saying just what we've been talking about so far, but I don't know if anyone has any questions that's dealing with okay, so someone logged in as me, Monday_Charles. So who is this that signed in under my name, actually? Well, I guess you just put my name in the name field, but they logged in under a different email. Any tips about getting loads doing hazmat? The only tip is when you're on the load boards. So who is this person typing this? What's your name, or can you unmute yourself? Any tips about getting loads doing hazmat? And are you trying to do, because when I talk to you, I need to know who I'm talking to. Is it like power only hazmat? Do you have your own truck and trailer hazmat, tanker? what kind of hazmat endorsement are you requiring? Because I have tips. The main tips, of course, because the reason why I just asked those preliminary questions, because when you mainly go to your load boards looking for loads and you do your search criteria and you filter out the fact that you want hazmat required loads, then hazmat loads, they pay more. Okay, account acquisition manager. Robert asks, I think he's asking Gigi this one, would she care to tell who she was trained by as a broker?
No, but if y'all ever decide to take a broker class, you can send me a message and I can tell you yes or no. I don't want to,
okay, yeah,
I just want to pray for her.
Oh, okay. So, so let's see here. So if we do a new load search, right, and it should give us the ability to choose hazmat. So if you're looking for loads, so the reason why I asked that, Mike said account acquisitions manager, because I was asking who asked that question about the hazmat. So let's say we are looking for hazmat loads. Just check. Let's check the trailer option. So let's say we're going to do, if the trailer option is hazmat, then let's say power only, maybe power only, or because a power only can hitch or couple or connect or attach to a hazmat trailer. So someone give me a good origin city to something that freight moves in a lot. Maybe a Midwest city, or I'll choose a date, Friday. So what's a good origin city and state? Anyone? Let's see, Mike typed something here. I don't know if he gave me. Oh, he's just commenting. No one has a city and state for me, origin? Okay, so I see 2 comments here. Let's see. Okay, Robert said Indiana, and someone else said Baltimore. So we'll say Naptown then, right? Robert, Naptown, Indianapolis. I used to live in Naptown. And we'll leave the destination blank. And I want to see if there's any hazmat loads for a power only. And there's nothing there. We don't have anything there. So let's see. Let's edit this. Edit. And I'm gonna blank out the date, and I may even blank out the equipment type. Just to, not equipment type is a requirement. Let's go down the list here. Tanker. That's hazmat. Tanker, because it's food grade, liquid, or bulk. So let's do this and see if we got anything. And options is Z. So let's see here.
Hey, Charles, this is James. Let's go to some of your port cities. That's where you're going to find most of your petrochemical plants around your port cities.
All right. Well, let's do my area then. How you doing, by the way, James?
Doing good, sir.
And I'll just let's just choose the state. Let's just say the state of Virginia. But James, give me a city.
Lake Charles, Louisiana, Beaumont, Texas, Port Arthur, Texas. New Orleans, Louisiana. Those are where most of your petrochemical plants are. So you get hazardous material out of that area.
All right, let's see here. Robert says Chicago. So let me uncheck something real quick and see why, and just see if it. Okay, a company called Top Notch. Let's see if it has any hazmat. And it's thinking here. So, see, I got a few comments. Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that, Gigi. Ripped off for a couple of thousand, only to give a bunch of terms and half. Most freight broker classes are rip-offs. I just gave you guys freight broker training a little bit in about 20 minutes just now. So, and that was, this is all the content that you'll ever need to run a freight broker company. Right here, and there's so much content in there. And I'll give you real life perspectives. So let's see here. Tank, this opened up. Any hazmat endorsements on this one? It just says a tanker equipment, but it doesn't have a hazmat. And they're offline. Because I was going to call, I might try to find a West Coast company that's still open and give them a call. So, let's do another here. Let's see. I might even take the tanker off of there and just because I may not necessarily want a tanker trailer. I may want a van trailer where you just have to put placards on it or something. So, and then see inside the descriptions of the load whether it's hazmat required. So now we got 482 in Port Arthur, Texas, which is one of the areas that James has gave us. I'm going to spread it out a little bit because it's 482, so I'm going to say 200 so I can see more of it. And then I'll put more of the higher paying ones up top. So let's see if these have any hazmat endorsements or requirements in the descriptions. Let's look at this first one. This is going a long distance. Okay, so in the load for driving, so now it's going to tell you the equipment options. This is a hazmat load, so it requires someone who has a hazmat endorsement so they can put the placards and whatever information they need into there. On the trailers, you got those little diamond-shaped areas on the side of the trailers where you have to open your placards up so you can identify when you're driving the trailer down the road. It can be identified by DOT officers and state troopers that this is a hazmat load. It's just one of the requirements, and then of course your paperwork is with you in the trailer, so if you get pulled over, you can show that paperwork as well. But it is hazmat required. So the person who asked that question, they never spoke up, but I see the question in here. How do you? Let me scroll back up here. Any tips about getting loads doing hazmat? Well, one of the directives is we can do a drive-man load search, and then the load details see if the load is required for hazmat, and then compare and contrast what the rate is paying for the dry van that's going in the same direction that requires a hazmat compared to the one that's going in the same direction that does not require a hazmat. And I can pretty much guarantee that the hazmat load obviously is going to pay a little bit more. Now, this is still under $2 a mile if you look at the practical miles. And the rate that the load is paying. So 3,200 at 17 twice is 3,400, and that's 32. That's still less than $2 a mile. Pushing. This is dry van. Dry van hazmat, Mike, not the tanker. I took the tanker out of the search criteria and changed it to dry van so we can get more load. I still left the good port areas in here. Okay, but this is practical miles. Does it have actual? Usually have actual miles down here where it says distance. So it could be less, it could be more, but this is a less than $2 a mile load. So it's going a great distance. 3,200. That has to be negotiated up above $2. I can imagine, because 3,200 at 17, 18 practical. I don't know what the actual miles is, but the practical miles. There's a difference between practical and actual miles. Practical is they're just Googling Deer Park, Texas to Clinton, Connecticut. And they may be Googling it zip to zip. So 186. So if I can get this up to like $4,000, maybe 4,500, then we may be talking. That's a great distance. 17. Now we're talking a little bit. Even $4,000. Let's get it up $4,000. It could be worth the trip, possibly, but 232, 233. So whoever that person was who asked that question about getting tips on getting the hazmat, so that's one way, one resource. You just gotta, when you find a load and you go into the load details, you see if the details require the load, whether it has a hazmat or not. You ask about the commodity as well, and the broker is going to tell you if that's the case, if it's a hazmat load or not as well too. They're going to let you know that. So, okay. Any questions on that? Gigi, did you have anything else? If you're still with us.
Of course I do.
Okay.
This should be a quick one. One of the videos I watched of yours in the module 1, you had mentioned about e-faxing. How hard is that to set up?
You're right. It is an easy one. It's as easy as setting up, because all you're doing is setting up like an e-fax account online, and you're syncing it with your phone number. So if your phone, you're gonna connect your phone number with an email address. So when someone dials, or not your personal phone number, but say like an 800 number or whatever number you choose, then that number is going to be associated. When they dial that number, it's going to forward over to an email address or an e-fax email address where you can get that. You can print out that fax through your email from the dial-in phone number. So let's say e-fax free e-fax solutions. Let's say e-fax solutions, right? So there's several. So here's one here. Free e-fax service, online e-faxing. You can sign up. You could pick a local number, or you can pick a toll-free e-fax number that's going to be associated with your account. And this one is a popular one. It's called e-fax. It offers a 14-day trial, okay? And like I said, you can choose either your personal number, which I don't recommend, or I should say, which I do recommend. And everything is being done electronically these days. That e-fax, e-prints, online web forms to do your dispatcher agreement, like I got on mine. Those are good options because it makes you more mobile. So as opposed to being like locked down in a centralized office where you can't move a lot. So.
Do they work with a Google number? Is a Google number a good thing to get? Because I didn't know how that would sound.
If you can get a Google number that's toll free, which I think you cannot, but I'm not sure they integrated with Google. That's a very good question. So let's go to Google to answer that question.
Because I know sometimes the quality of the phone call is not always good with a Google phone number.
Right. Correct. So it says, can I fax from my Google Voice number? So are you referring to a Google Voice?
Yeah. Instead of putting my regular phone number on there, I was trying to get a Google number.
Right. So right here, the short answer is yes. For using your Google Voice number to send and receive fax, you need first to unlock your number and then you got to port it to the fax. So, and they offer that when you set up your e-fax, whatever number you select, whether it's a Google Voice, a toll-free number, or your personal cell, it has to be ported over through the fax software to the fax. So, and it instructs you on that. I don't want to get too detailed about it, but it instructs you on how to do that. But you have to port that number over, whatever number it is. So obviously they say, yes, you can use your Google Voice, personal cell number, or a toll-free number. So.
Okay.
So Google Voice is popular. It's a good option. So several e-fax solutions. This is the popular one, electronic fax. So I'm assuming you're going the electronic route as opposed to having a landline fax machine.
Right.
Okay. Because the one advantage, of course, the main advantage, in my opinion, probably is because it gives you the ability to be more mobile. So
yeah, plus because I don't plan on staying in Florida. I eventually want to move to Georgia, and I want to just make sure everything is a smooth transition, whether I go back and forth for a while or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and if you want to work at a Starbucks or something, you can just plug your laptop up to the Wi-Fi and just book loads from a Starbucks, which I've done that before. So, drinking. What did I have? Jesus Christ, I can't remember what I had. A Venti Frappuccino. Yeah, there you go.
Chai latte.
Oh Lord, you got the big money? Okay. So that's the e-fax. So as far as an office solution, so what do you need? Because you were talking on the lines of a business anyway, so we might as well cover that a little bit perspective in the dispatching business from a beginner's perspective, right? The basics. So from an office, so as far as your computer setup, desktop or laptop, most people are going laptop now because of the mobility features, right? So I'm personally talking to you guys on an HP Pavilion. It has I think it's a half a terabyte or a 500 gigabyte hard drive. It had 8 gigabytes of RAM, but I upgraded it to 16 gigs. I don't know why, but I guess I wanted faster speed. And then any software ideas for you guys, of course, you might want to consider like Microsoft Office Suite with Access, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word, and maybe Adobe in there a little bit. Of course, now that Gigi mentioned here, an eFax solution, maybe with a Google Voice line. Of course, your phone, whatever cell service you use. I personally use the Android protocol as opposed to the iPhone. I despise Apple products because they're too proprietary.
Me too. Yay.
Yeah, you can only buy Apple parts and things like that. If you want to upgrade everything, you can't mix and match. As opposed to Android, you can do whatever you want. But from an office solution, so if you're a person who just started their dispatching business though, and you can't be mobile as much already now, then you can consider a desktop with the monitor and wireless mouse and things like that. So, someone just commented here. For some reason, I can't see the chats past Robert, so I can't see what the last chat response or comment was for some reason. If someone can read that to me.
Mike said y'all not right.
As far as what? The Apple products?
I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're formulating your business as far as the equipment setup, the office setup perspective of it, then whether you mobile or not, you want to have the computer part, the specs for the computer. I would recommend, because you always want to consider long-term growth downstream. So you want to get software that'll be so advanced that when you do grow, you don't have to worry about upgrading because you already have it. So if you have a hard drive in your computer or your laptop that's at least 250 to 500 gigabytes, if you have RAM or the memory stick that keeps the processor running fast in your computer or your laptop that's at least 8 gigs or higher, then that's cool. Software side, that's the hardware side. The software side will be the Microsoft Office Suite, maybe some accounting software too, like maybe QuickBooks, or I should say QuickBooks Pro. But if you can't afford QuickBooks Pro, then a simple Excel spreadsheet would be good. I see another comment down here. Well, I can't see it, but so that's from the beginner dispatcher's perspective, and then of course your cell phone service, of course, and then if you're in house, if you're going to get a laptop, of course you want to have the laptop with the ability to connect to Wi-Fi, and that's pretty standard these days. Most laptops, I can't imagine a laptop now without having the ability to connect to Wi-Fi. That's kind of prehistoric, but and then
I have a Surface Pro. Now the QuickBook Pro, is that for invoicing or that's just to keep track of your loads and stuff?
It's all of it. It's more of an accounting base. So you can use QuickBook Pro for invoicing your carriers, but I mean it's an overkill with invoicing because I just use PayPal or Square. I don't really. I mean from that. Because we're just dealing with carriers. It's not that serious, we're not like now when you get to a point where you get in corporate, like building up, and see, I got 36 carriers, right? 18 of which that I try to maintain loads for. The other half is like they'll call me every now and then for spot loads. Like if they get stuck somewhere, like Charles, I'm stuck. Can I get out? Something like that. So, I mean. And I use PayPal, and Square hasn't done me wrong. And it's not that complicated. All you're doing when you're invoicing, you're just opening up the software and creating an invoice, sending it to their email, and it keeps an electronic tag of all invoices sent out for tax purposes and things like that. You can apply tax to it. You can set your numbers. You can put comments in it. You can do invoices. You can set it up for recurring invoices or however you want to do it. So You can do that through QuickBooks if you want to get real like corporate level, but it's not. Starting off, it wouldn't be necessary. Even if you've been doing it for a while, it still wouldn't be necessary. But the reason why I said QuickBooks Pro is because you can use the software for more than just invoicing. You can use it for, you know, like if you take on employees in your dispatching company later on downstream, then you can have an accounting software for that, for your, you know, or if you do purchases within your business and you want to account for the purchases to do tax write-offs and stuff like that, QuickBooks Pro is a good software for that, because that's what it was designed for, like a small business environment. So.
Okay.
All right. Now you guys are picking my brain tonight. I don't know what happened. Did I eat something wrong or something? Someone commented down here. I see another comment, but I can't really see it. But what did the last comment say? Can anybody?
It's Mike. He said after y'all not right, he said yes, referring to the Apple product, and then he put which I don't know what that refers to.
Okay. So and tonight's training I was gonna have a few brokers. I was wanting them to come in and comment, because the topic we got on kind of brokering a little bit from a dispatcher trying to get and you kind of started this, Gigi, from a dispatcher trying to get direct shippers for their dispatching company in which they are dispatching a large trucking company, right? That was a mouthful. But the topic tonight was going to be the benefits of a broker company from a dispatcher's perspective, understanding what the broker's role from a dispatcher's perspective. So from a dispatcher's perspective, what do you think the broker's role is or should be?
To get the loads moved, but their main force is how much money they can get off of that before they can give it to somebody else.
Right, because if I'm a broker, so I'm like, okay, my job is to satisfy my customer, who's the shipper, right? So if I get a dispatcher coming in and say, okay, I got access to X amount of trucks, then as a broker, I'm gonna try to be a friend, because you're helping me kind of for free, actually, because all I got to do is just give you an email of my lanes and my loads, and you say you got all these trucks, and you come across trucks that meet those lanes, and you send those trucks to me, and I'm making money, and I'm making my customer happy, and I may get more loads from my customer based off of making them happy. So I'm going to be your friend, Mr. Dispatcher. I'm going to email you all the time, hey, I got some more loads. This shipper gave me some more loads. Do you got any trucks in these lanes? Or do you got any trucks in these lanes? So now we're building a relationship, you see? So the dispatcher is the true middle person between the broker and their carrier or carriers, and then the broker is the true middle person between the carrier and their customer, which is the shipper. Now that may be a little confusing at first, but if you think about it, it's not. It's kind of like a chain reaction. You got the shipper, you got the broker, then you got the carrier. And in between the broker and the carrier, you have the dispatcher, who's servicing the carrier through the broker. So it's good to have relations. I get texts and calls all the time from brokers, from loads that I've done like 6 months or so ago, where my carriers have delivered on time and all this other stuff. So they're looking and say, wait, where's that one carrier you had, man? He did that low. I got some more lanes open. You got any more carriers that can fill these lanes? Stuff like that. So that's what I mean by a good relationship with the broker. They'll call you. I don't have to chase them. You know. Now I go to the load boards maybe for backhaul. My main goal is to try to set up dedicated loads now. So when I'm calling brokers now, after I book loads with some carriers or find backhaul for some carriers, I'm asking questions. I'm asking, okay, I need some dedicated lanes. I just don't want spot market loads all the time. I don't want spot market loads, stuff that you just throw on the load board because you're just trying to get rid of it, and they're hard to move. I want dedicated lanes. I want something that's consistent. But as beginner dispatchers, we have to build to that point, right? That's not going to happen overnight. You have to build to that. So you guys understand that point? Okay, someone comment. I still can't see that comment.
Am I your interpreter for the evening? I just said yes.
Yes, I guess you are. Can you just invoice me later? I'll pay it.
Okay.
Yeah, but the point I was making as beginner dispatchers, you're gonna. That's why it's good to learn the load boards and understand how to navigate them. But over time, as you book loads for your carriers, especially with the same brokers, then you're going to start asking those questions because you're consistently running loads for this broker, right, with your same carrier or a few carriers. Then you want to ask that broker, say, hey, man, I got carriers that's running these loads all the time. I have some dedicated lanes. Or are these lanes dedicated enough where I can keep this carrier running back and forth? And you can run me in this lane and give me a backhaul for my guy. I'll keep this guy running with you consistently because that's money. That's consistent money. You got to worry about getting on a load board, finding a load for this person. If you've got a broker that can keep my carrier running. So they're doing your job for you. And because you're helping them. Because you got them an asset that's running for their customer, the freight. So it's a kind of a win-win thing, and that's what happens when you build relationships over time. So someone commented down there. I didn't see it, though. I guess, I don't know if it was after Mike's comment.
No, it just says yes, and then I put a period to try to move it up for you to see it, but you still can't see it.
And then someone just commented. I should have put this on the speaker. I think this is the broker calling me now. But I got my phone on vibrate. It's been a very busy day. So beginner dispatchers, learn the process, learn the workflow. The workflow of dispatching is, I'll give it to you high level. Of course, carrier acquisition, what that means is whatever methods that's used in getting a carrier to say, yes, I want a dispatcher agreement, I want to be in a relationship with you as far as having a dispatch agreement and profile, and you help me find loads, and I'll pay you a percentage for your service, okay? So that's first. That's the first hurdle. That's a major hurdle. Well, not major, but it is a hurdle. Once you get that, your next challenge is now to understand how to properly, everyone can navigate a load board, but how to properly do that off of understanding the equipment type of your carrier, understanding where they're based, how they want to run according to their profile, how often they want to be home, and what freight is moving in their area for their radius, right? And then getting with the broker, having that dialogue with the broker to get loads for your carrier in their profiled area, right? So now you're putting the pieces of a puzzle together, and if you do that on a consistent basis over and over again, especially with one or two brokers consistently, now you're setting your carrier up to run loads consistently, successfully, and you're making your whatever percentage you're charging your carrier for, you're making that percentage for your service. Because a dispatcher is essentially just a problem solver, right? That's basically what we're doing. We're learning a skill set in order to solve a problem for a fee, right? That's pretty much it. But in the process, you're building relationships, you're getting to know people, and you're developing yourself, and you're making and it's a business for you. So it's a win-win. You guys follow that? Any other questions before wind it down for you guys?
I'm all questioned out for the moment.
I think you have a real good goal that you want to do, Gigi.
I'm trying to build this for my 5 children. That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. So you leave a legacy. You're building. You're a legacy builder.
Yes, I am.
That's good. That's great. So with that, now this is still dispatcher related, but I guess it's kind of off kilter a little bit. But multiple streams of income is always good. So, and in that multiple streams of income arena, this one is business arena, right? And our business is dispatching, right? So that's one multiple stream of income. Another one, of course, you got. I was listening to this today. I listened to different motivational things, and I was listening to Denzel's motivational thing today. But we were talking about different revenue streams, different ways of making money, different strategies for financial freedom, and all this stuff. You know, having an emergency fund. You always want to have an emergency fund put up. I don't know if you guys heard this before. I'll say it and see if anybody can relate. So I'm of the philosophy. Me and my wife have been talking about this. Having an emergency fund. So whatever your expenses are, your bills, right? Times 3, we're doing times 6, right? So we have, and we put that in cash as an emergency fund because you never know, something may happen, right? And you're going to need something to kind of back you up until you get back on your feet. So why not 6 months instead of 3 months? So you figure you put, I think our expenses is about, what is it, $3,000 a month, I think? So you figure 3 times 6, so that's $18,000, enough to have us 6 months out. So that's one strategy. Then the next one is you got like real estate, and then you have investing. I'm dealing with a lot of investing right now as far as stocks are risky, okay? But the more risk you take, the more you can get a return on your investment. I deal mainly with the index funds, the three different types of index funds, because index funds are stable. You have U.S. index fund, the S&P 500, then you have the international index funds, and then you have bond index funds. So if you look those up, you'll be able to get more information on that. Then I'm dealing with these little investment apps like Acorn, Stash, Robinhood, where you're putting in money for ETFs. Then, of course, real estate. We're dealing with real estate investment trusts or REITs, and then I do a lot of wholesaling too. So there's different revenue streams. So you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You want to have like what's called a diversified portfolio. So
right, I do natural soaps, and I wanted to get into real estate.
Okay. There are several ways.
Properties.
Right. There are several ways to get into real estate. The easiest entry point will be in wholesaling. It does not require a real estate license to wholesale. And I don't know if you know what wholesaling is, but in a nutshell, what it is you find what's called.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know how expensive it is, but if it's more than $500, don't waste your time. I can give you wholesaling in one sentence. Wholesaling is essentially you find motivated sellers, and there's different ways of finding motivated sellers. Someone who may gotten a house from an inheritance, a family died, they got it through an estate transfer. They don't want the house, they want to come up from under it. It could be people behind on their mortgage. That's a motivated seller. They're trying to get rid of that house. They're trying to get that 3 months in arrears in their mortgage paid before it goes into foreclosure, because once you go into foreclosure, you have a hard time trying to get another house. So before that happens, they want to get rid of this house. That's a motivated seller. You have other types of motivated sellers. Tax lien certificates is a form of motivated sellers. So any one of those ways to get a motivated seller, you get the house under contract through what's called a purchase and sale agreement. You get it under contract for a substantial amount below the ARV, the after repair value. So if you got a house that's worth market value, that's worth $150,000, but it's not new, it's not at market value. You got $30,000 in repairs, You got other things that need to be done with it. So that 150 went down to like 90,000. You get it under contract for 90,000, and then you assign that contract for like 100 or 110,000 to a cash buyer. So that assignment, that difference is the spread. That's the assignment fee. That's what a wholesaler does. They get a house under contract from a motivated seller for well below market value, ARV value, because it's run down, the grass is tall, all types of stuff, and then you assign your contract. Because once you get a house under contract through a purchase and sale agreement, you have what's called equitable interest in the house, up to 30 days, up to 60 days, whatever the contract stays. And then you can assign that contract to a cash buyer before that time expires, and that cash buyer buys it. So at the closing table, at the offices where they close it at, they have all this money in escrow or whatever. You can either do what's called a double close, or you can close with the seller there. Sometimes you want to do what's called a double close because you don't want the seller to see the money that you're going to make from assigning that house over to a cash buyer, because the seller is like, wait a minute. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes you can do what's called a double close. You assign it and then you assign it again to make your assignment fee. So that's what wholesaling is. That's one type of real estate. Then you have what's called buy and holds. Then you have flipping. Then you have renting out. Then you have Airbnb. There's different ways. I was just telling you the easiest entry point would be wholesaling. So the ways to market with wholesaling, you got what's called, you can do what's called bandit signs. You see people out here putting bandit signs up where you see these signs on the street say, we buy houses, and then their contact number on it,
Right.
posted all over the place. Those are called bandit signs, right? Then you can do another marketing method. You can do what's called driving for dollars. You just drive down neighborhoods and you see run down houses with grass tall, boarded up. You get the address, and you remember I said skip trace. You get the address. You look up, you skip trace the address, and it shows you who owns the house. Of course, it's called the person who owns it is an absentee owner because nobody's living there because it's run down, boarded up, or whatever. So then you call them, and then you just start that conversation and try to get them under contract. You say, well, this house is run down. Are you interested in selling the house? So not to get too far off topic, but yeah, that's an idea too. So real estate is an arena that you can generate revenue, a second stream of income as well. So investing, real estate, starting your own business. There's just so many ways to. This day and age, this is 2020, so there's so much online that can show you how to do things. It's just the motivation of the person themselves to do it. You know?
Yeah, I started that when I first came to Florida back in 2014. I had a woman in Charlotte that had me looking at properties. But it's I guess what I always run into is nobody ever putting it all together. They give you bits and pieces.
Right.
And I never get the full, what do I need to do? And that's the way my mind works. I need to know what to do so I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. So I would, if you decide to go into real estate, if you decide to go into the easiest entry point in real estate, which is wholesaling, I recommend in your area, every area has what's called meetup groups, like with wholesalers or whatever real estate. You go to meetup groups, attend those meetup groups. They're going to be real estate investors there, cash buyers there. You can get as much free information as you possibly can, and you can potentially do what's called a JV, a joint venture with someone. Maybe you're good at getting motivated sellers. Maybe your partner or your JV partner may be good at getting cash buyers. You guys come together on a deal and you split the profit. So you guys made $20,000 off of a wholesale deal. You guys get $10,000 each. So that could be an option too. So everything that I just mentioned about the terms and everything, you'll hear all that stuff in meetup groups. So
Okay.
And that's just another potential
More
option.
blessings. I appreciate it.
I mean, it's useless. It's useless for me to have all the information, right, and not just share it or give it away. I don't want to get paid for stuff like that. I mean, this stuff, I get, and then the like a YouTube channel. You can do a YouTube channel. They have what's called ad revenue. You can make ad revenue off of YouTube, where you get so many subscribers. That's why I'm trying to build my YouTube channel, because I wanna get to a point where I'm making what's called passive income, and that's income being made while I'm even asleep. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
I no longer want to trade my time for money. You know what I'm saying? Working for someone, trading your time for money. I want to let money now work for me. I want to retire, let money work for me, and let money retire. You see what I'm saying? So you just got to, once you change your mindset and your thinking, then things you're gonna see that things are gonna start begin to look different, and you start looking at people different, not in a judgmental way. You're just gonna really see there's gonna be so much realism shown to you and revealed to you once your mentality changes and your thinking. You know, I've been doing this for so long, and then I've changed. I just do one flip of my mind change, and the perspective changes to a different perspective, right? And then you'd be like, okay, you want to share that with people, like, okay, this is what I did, and I'm seeing the results. So why not me share that with somebody else and watch the same result transpire with them here with me, which proves that what I did works. So that's all. But it starts with the mentality. It starts with thinking. You know, before anything happens, there's a thought, and then everything else manifests itself from the thought. You know, so we create inventions come off of thoughts. You know, we create a lot of things based off of our thinking. You can think yourself being a millionaire. You can think yourself into a different business. You can have a business because it's an idea, right? Then the idea has to be transpired to something that's tangible that you can physically see. But you create it first in your mind, and then you manifest it to paper, and then you formulate it. You get with like-minded people. You may partner up. So it's just a whole lot of different things in that. So, but the beginning thing is you have to think about it first. Change your attitude, and then you change your altitude, right? So, I didn't mean for this to be church. I'm sorry. Any more questions on dispatching? Are we good?
I'm good. I'm glad I got on tonight because I wasn't going to get on tonight.
What? And miss all this? What?
I know, exactly. Everything happens for a reason. I was flying home from work just to make sure I got here on time.
Yeah, well, you never know. Expect the unexpected, right?
Right.
Expect the unexpected. So, we talked about what we were supposed to talk about, and my main thing was to get some questions answered and talk a little bit about the broker side, and then we just got off a little bit. But, it's still interrelated because, you know, we're talking about our businesses, dispatching business. And now it goes into the realm of other streams of income, and one of the streams of income is our dispatching business. And then we just talked about, well, what are some other ways to have streams of income? Investing, real estate, you know, just different things. So it kind of just circled itself back around. So you kind of dominated the training tonight.
I know. I'm sorry.
But that's okay because some people learn better by listening as opposed to speaking. Others learn by interaction as opposed to being silent. So we all have our different ways of gathering information and knowledge. So you're the more vocal and the more interactive. You want to get feedback and interaction. Other people just listen and receive, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong, better than one person or the other. It's just we just have different ways of doing that. So
I appreciate it.
all right, guys. What's today? Wednesday, Sunday at 11 a.m. See you guys then. Great conversation. Hope you guys learned some stuff, whether it's from the shipper side, broker side, even some life stuff, life lessons. So More than dispatching, I guess you would say. That might be the title for this one. More than dispatching.
Right.
All right, guys. As always, salute. I will see you guys, for those who are attending, next Sunday or this coming Sunday at 11 a.m. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Good night.